Chelsea Andrews. I work for After School HQ. We're actually hosting our speaker today, Laura Palacios. So I'll share more about her in just a moment. Um, Quick second on us. We are a technology platform that supports people who do engagement with those who run youth programs. So we work with school districts, individual youth providers, larger entity groups that work in multiple different states or cities. So we can kind of meet the scale of where you guys are at. We like to bring in experts like Laura who can give educational content. So we have somebody at least once each month. So she's come in to talk about board diversity for us and the importance of it. I know Laura has served on many, many, many boards. So at After School HQ, we have this technology platform. We want to help with the whole admin side for you guys. A lot of people that get involved in this work don't want to work with children necessarily to do like the business end of everything. So check in, check out, all of like the admin needs, we can help with that. We also want to make communication more smooth with parents. So text messages, emails, we can manage all of that. And then we're really, really keen on impact, which I think will be relevant to this conversation. So like, who are you serving? We can do heat maps. We can really help you break down the data of the information that you collect. We have surveys, all of that. So that's After School HQ. I am our head of engagement and partnerships. There's some other team members here as well if anything is comes up for us along the way. But I really want to shift over to Laura, who I'm so excited to have today. Laura Palacios, she is the Senior Director of Indie Summer Learning Labs. Like I mentioned before, her and I are both based in Indianapolis, Indiana. So we're calling in from the Midwest here. She works for the Mind Trust. She has a Master's of Science in Organizational Leadership. She has a bachelor's from the University of Houston. That master's is from Winnipeg University. You might have to.
Winnipeg.
Yes, ma'am. You'll have to educate me a little bit more there. She helps a lot. So I do actually have her bio, which I want to directly look at because there's a lot of really interesting things here that I'm not sure that I could summarize in different language. So you help with vision setting, strategic planning, execution of programs, providing high quality summer academic enrichment experiences for Marion County. It's a local county here in Indiana. Very, very high impact for our area. For first through ninth graders, I love that. You also help cultivate diverse stakeholders, relationships, and collaborate with lots of different entities who are in the OST space, the out of school time space. There's a longer bio here, but I just want to share kind of like a human element. I was able to connect with Laura, and I have a whole background and interest in diversity, but I have not had any of the lens into building board members in these nonprofit arenas and with the lens that you bring to the table, Laura. So I do want to shift over to you. We're so excited to learn from you today, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to share a little bit of this insight that has just come along the way professionally and through my extracurricular activities. Um, I will get to my next slide here where we'll just talk through what you'll walk away with. Why am I even having this conversation with you? The business case to having diversity on your board and an audit experience, and then brainstorming session of where to find candidates, a quick conclusion, and then it says contact, but really means any questions you have and any answers I may be able to provide. I'm happy to leave some time for that as well. So, what you'll walk away with, if I did my job well enough, you're going to walk away with an understanding of why board diversity matters, what the business case is, how to audit your own board, and then how to lead a brainstorming session with your board of where to find candidates and what next steps you should take. A little bit about me, everything that Chelsea said. But what you should know, oh, my picture doesn't show up. Nope, we'll go back. What you should know is that I've served on 13 boards. At the same time, at one point, I moved to Kansas City, Missouri as an adult. I Googled how to find friends as an adult because that can be hard. And it said things like go to church, which at the time I was like, I'm good on. It said things like join a running group. I was definitely good on that. It said take your kids to the park, and I didn't have kids at the time. It said, take your pets to the park. I didn't have pets either. And the last one said, join the board. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. How do I do that? So I Googled, how do you join a board? And one of the advice points it gave me was reach out to your an elected officer and let them know you're interested. So I did. I put my little resume together. I found someone of my representatives. I sent them an email and I was like, hi, I'm new to the city. I really want to get engaged. And if you have any board opportunities, please let me know. Little did I know that legislator was going to send my resume to 13 different organizations. All 13 responded to me. I was too new, too green, didn't know what not to do, and I joined all 13. I said yes. So every day of my week, I had either one or two meetings, or my lunchtime was booked with board meetings. I did gain friends very quickly, but I also learned a lot of what to do, what not to do, because after those 2 years of service, I was like, I want to do this right. So I then joined 5 different board governance boot camps to just drill deep into like what board governance was, how to be an effective board member, how to be a great board member. And then I then led a case study with a nonprofit to kind of audit their community engagement and their board diversity. And I'll share a little bit about that as well. So, our goals today, my first goal is that you understand the business case and share it with others. And then, second, you walk away with strategies on how to build a diverse board. Before we go into anything, I think it's really important to stay in the grounded in research and what the board's role is. So, a board's role is to have an effective partnership with the chief executive, the executive director. Um, Also, be to keep that eye on the mission and drive the governance with decisions that will impact that mission. Also, to do the strategic thinking and the continuous engagement that is necessary to keep that nonprofit and program going. And then also have a culture of inquiry and mutual respect. I've I wish I could say I've had a board meeting experience. I have never had a crazy board meeting experience, but every once in a while, personalities creep in. So I was as I was preparing for this presentation, I said I want to pull some research, but I want it to be a little Midwest focused. So I found this amazing paper from the Indiana University's Kelly School of Business, where it highlights that diversity in an educational lens, an industrial lens, an organizational background lens, and among managers and board members fuels radical innovation and it generates both economic and social value. Honestly, to create a truly diverse and effective board, companies and organizations across the US should look beyond the traditional pedigree of Ivy League education financiers. While they're nice to have, that should not make up 100% of your board. Um, and it's also a field where female and minority individuals are underrepresented. So, this research study, in case you don't want to read it, here's your cliff notes. It says to really look for spaces that are underrepresented and consider candidates with varied educational and professional backgrounds. Then I also looked at like, okay, but why should people think that a diverse board matters? And the next kind of research article I found talked about how it improved the overall stakeholder experience. the representation and the trust that your organization has. If your board has that varied experience behind it, the data shows that it increases your representation of your community, and it increases your ability to gain trust. Um, a board that mirrors the diversity of the community it serves can better understand and address the specific needs and challenges faced by students and their families. And I think just by the people who are on this call, you can tell us best how to serve your community. And so because you are from the community, you've experienced, you know what it's like. And so looking at your board members' ability to do that as well, is what the research says is super in fact impactful. When stakeholders see themselves represented in the board, it builds trust and encourages greater involvement from community donors and partners, and at better resources allocation and fundraising. Um, just to kind of put a cap on, diverse board members can also tap into a broader range of networks, not just for fundraising, but for friend raising, because sometimes the initiatives that you have as an organization don't just require funds, they require people in all places that have the ability to speak about that initiative that you want to drive forward. And so friend raising is just as important to build partnerships and to make it a stronger piece of your resourcing pie, for a lack of a better word. And it also enhances the organization's capacity to secure funding overall and support for your initiative. All right, so we're going to talk through what you can do. You have a board member, a board right now, or you are a board member. And so, one of the things that one of your starting points is to audit. Why would you want to create a board audit? One, it enhances decision making and innovation because you'll know that there's diverse perspectives that are brought to your board meetings with varied experiences and viewpoints, leading to a more innovative and well-rounded decision-making process. It also helps with your problem solving. People from different backgrounds contribute to creative solutions and approaches, crucial for addressing complex organizational challenges. It improves representation and inclusivity. By auditing your board diversity, you're ensuring that the board reflects the demographics of the community it serves, fostering better understandings and connections with stakeholders. Again, building that trust with the stakeholders. Your stakeholder group can include donors and beneficiaries, as well as the people that you serve, or your clients. There's a faster trust building experience if you have board diversity or board members that reflect the community that you serve. It strengthens the governance and accountability because there's a balanced oversight. So diverse boards provide comprehensive oversight, reducing the risk of groupthink. So you're not speaking to each other in an echo chamber. You have some diversity in there, and ensuring that all the angles are considered in governance practices. And overall, it helps with driving organizational performance. Research indicates that diverse boards contribute to better organizational performance, including improved financial outcomes and higher employee satisfaction and greater innovation. It takes a village to get the work done that you're doing. From a nonprofit perspective, I know it. You wear 5 different hats sometimes, but your village, you would want your village to feel great, happy, and be seen. And having a diverse board can attribute to that. A diverse board can offer insights into new markets and opportunities. I always have a team member that I say, "What's the word on the street?" Because keeping in tune with how the community is receiving a very good initiative, a well-intended initiative, but maybe it didn't hit right is very important. And so having that perspective on your board can also result in better outcomes. And it provides a strategic advantage in an increasingly global and multicultural environment. Last but not least, auditing helps ensures that opportunities for board positions are accessible to all, promoting equity and inclusion within your organization. So, how do you even get started with your audit? No worries, I have action items for you. One, assess your current board's makeup. And on the screen, you have a list that you can use. You can edit this list, adjust this list as you see fit. But gender, age ranges, race or ethnicity, educational backgrounds, professional backgrounds, or industry experience, geographical locations or geographic upbringings, languages represented, board experience, entry level, first time serving on a board, or well seasoned, served on 13 boards, military background. Then identify your gaps. What type of diversity do you wish your board had more of? And or what are you missing? So that'll be your second action. The third action is what I think is the fun part. Charter a plan to fill the gaps. Your plan shouldn't be longer than 3 years to implement. All of your boards have a length of time that they serve. So, thinking you're going to change the page, move the needle in 1 year, it's not realistic. But also taking 5 years is probably a little too long. So, you're like with your board and you're saying, "Hey, I think we should do this. How do we need to do this?" Okay, everyone's going to be like, "Okay, now that we have the data, we got some ideas." Some of those ideas are going to be brilliant, some are going to be creative. There's going to be more ideas, cool ideas, awesome ideas, great ideas. But it could be as simple as a sticky note experience of completing sticky notes identifying what type of diversity you wish your board had, more of what is missing, um, and that's the first step of identifying your gaps. Then you get to planning, and so in the planning, you take those sticky notes, you like downsize. Maybe you started with 30 really or 15 gaps. But again, you want to do this in 3 years. So where is your focus going to be? And that's where the planning conversations really start to get focused into. Maybe you have 3 light bulbs. These are the 3 gaps we want to fill within the next 3 years. And then you ideate on those. And so I'm not doing the work for you. I'm just showing you how it gets done. So that's why you're seeing best idea, cool idea, awesome idea, brilliant idea, creative idea, and great idea. Because you guys get to decide. And then from all of those ideas, from all of that gap identification, really go into solution finding. So when you go into solution finding, it's important that you focus one on what's that solution, and two, who's going to lead that? Is it a committee? Is it one person? Is it staff? Who is going to take charge? And so the images you see under each idea is a representation of uh, who's going to take that lead. Now that you have your solutions, I want to give all the project management people a high five and a thumbs up. Make sure your approach is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So if you haven't heard about SMART goals, go Google them. But I've also seen boards take a very kind of pie in the sky idea of how they're going to fill their diversity gaps and make these goals, and they're not time bound. So 10 years later, we're having the same conversation, or they're not specific. So people get exhausted because now they're trying to put together a whole city when all they had to charter was paint one house. Um, your solution should also have a RACI. So identify who's responsible for driving the solution, who's accountable for driving the solution, who should be consulted as you're going forward in that process, and who should be informed. I always think it's best practice in any board when there's an initiative drive to make it a line item in your agenda to give an update on how your work is progressing, to fill in the gap, to identify key people, et cetera, et cetera. Because what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Unfortunately, we're human beings who have a lot of things that we have to accomplish. And so, um, the smart approach to your solution and that racy, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed is going to help you measure and ensure that your um, filling the gap of the board diversity gets done. I have a case study before I go there. I do want to say, are there any questions? And did that bring up a light bulb? Is there anything that you want to dig deeper on and just process at this time?
Well, first, I want to say thank you because my organization was awarded a grant this year, and it's a capacity building grant. So we're actually working towards rebuilding the board and, getting our board to understand the importance of their roles and what their roles are and why we need them to follow through. And this training has been very, just for me, just kind of aligning things and how to kind of deliver this information to them, as well as to some of the business owners that we're working with, because I mean the reality of it is we're going to constantly be growing. So I'm very grateful that this training came across my email, because it literally just kind of dropped in at the right time for us to be able to kind of gain some of uh, these great points that we need to look at as nonprofit organizations. So I really had that comment for that. Um, how can we reach out to you if we have more questions about kind of developing this program out for our organization and following it through for the next 2 years? Because that's our, we have 2 years to get things done. So
For
for
sure, for
sure,
sure.
for sure.
I will give my email in the chat at the end of this presentation. Also, make sure Chelsea has it so that if you have any follow-up questions, I'm happy to sit down and have a conversation with you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sandra Murphy, and I've always wanted to be a part of a board. That's been my goal since, I guess, starting my educational journey, because I have a doctorate in education.
Love it.
My thing is, how do you find these boards?
Mm,
How do you present yourself? What is the requirement? And just the process of being a board member. I think a lot of us, when I say a lot, and I'm speaking for myself and maybe others, who want to be a part of a board system, because it is a system.
it is.
Yes. But we don't know how to go about getting into the system. As a rookie, I'm a rookie, and
Yeah.
I'm hearing about boards, boards, boards. But I'm saying to myself, that's fantastic. But how do I do it? Give,
Yeah.
yes, give me a first step, second step, third step. The presentation is great, but I think I need to take a step back
Yep.
and start it from the beginning. How do I become a board member, and where do I find these boards, and how do I present myself?
I love it. Okay, I'm going to get into this case study, which is going to answer a bit of your question, and then I'll dig deeper on your question.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, perfect. That was a perfect segue. It's like I pay people or something.
Hi.
All right,
Can
so
I add something to that, please?
yeah,
Yep, my name is Nkiru, but you can call me Nikki. And
okay.
I don't know who spoke. I think it was Dr. Murphy. You know what? On the flip side of what you're requesting, I think my question is, how do you find board members?
Okay.
For
Yes.
people, I mean, I do have a nonprofit right now, but I'm looking at something else with a different mission. I'm trying to find people to fill board positions for a nonprofit that has not yet been registered, but we're still working on the business plan. So how do you find board members? How do you present to them that what you're trying to do is worthwhile, even though you're starting? So
Yes.
that's on the flip side of what she's saying.
Yep.
I just wanted to throw that in. So when you're answering that question, you're able to segue into that as well. Thank
I
you.
got you. I got you. I feel like I teed you up or something like that. I promise I didn't. But yes, I will answer both of your questions.
That's perfect because I had the same question for
Oh, I
Andor.
love that. Okay, great. All right, so here's a case study. Before moving to Indianapolis, I lived in Kansas City, and there was an arts council in the area that was noticing that their demographics started to shift very quickly. They had a lot more Latinx people than they have had in the past. And this was like a 3-year ramp up of just numbers doubling. So the Arts Council reached out to me and was hoping to increase its reach and awareness in an inclusive way to reach the fastest growing constituency, the Latinx people. So what we did, I do have a consulting firm, LIA Inspiration, and me and the team got together and we looked at this project as like, okay, there are a few elements we know we can do, but first, it's very important. We're very community centered to ensure that we have the community's voice intact and that we're aligning what the Arts Council wanted to do with what the community needed. And so find the synergy. What we did was we did surveys out to the community. We also did focus groups where we had various individuals come through and kind of just do a one-on-one interview with us and tell us if they ever heard about the Arts Council, what their perspective was on the Arts Council. Once, yes or no, once we shared a little more information about the Arts Council, is that something that they would want to go to or engage with or attend? And so we got a lot of really great feedback and we presented it to the board. The Arts Council had a complete board audit because identified when they looked next to each other, they identified a big gap was to have someone from the community as a part of their decision-making body. So they created a phased approach. And that phased approach basically was one, they had an information session specifically for their target community. 2, they had a conversation tour with key stakeholders to ask for help in finding the best board members. So they knew that what they wanted to do was add at least one more Latinx person. Our advice was to add more than one because no one likes to be the only one of their kind sitting on something. And then to have interview coffee experience. So they called it a coffee tree, where at least 5 candidates were actively being recruited to coffees with each one of the board members to learn more, to get that board member's perspective, and also to share how they can engage with what ideas they had to engage with the art council to then be able to to join the board and increase the engagement of the Latinx community. The crazy part is that this project started pre-COVID. Then COVID happened, so we had to pivot and identify nobody was going outside. Outside was shut down. So we had to identify a different way to get our focus group experience off the ground. And then it was kind of beautiful because as the board was kind of grappling with what type of solutions they wanted to move forward with, outside started opening up. And so they saw that as an opportunity to welcome in new people into their space, share what a resource it was to the community, and then ask them, how would you want to use this space? So that segues into the two questions that were posed. How do you join a board? And then how do you find board members? So, one, I would say create a board specific resume. Your resume objective should be interested in joining boards that serve. Is it students? Is it a specific topic, housing? Is it entrepreneurship? Is it, you know, uh, whatever your passion points and interests are, that should be in your objective statement. And then in your qualifications, you should highlight what are the skill sets that you have that could be of added value to a board. So in the overall sense of what does a good, strong governing board need, there's also working boards. So if you're willing to do some work, you have some skill sets to share, throw that in there because all boards aren't equal. So if you're willing to do some work, what are the skill sets? Are you an accountant? Are you a lawyer? Do you do marketing for your day job and you're willing to use that skill set in a board? A good, strong board has someone who has a legal background, someone who has a financial background, so like CFO, accountant, tax person, etc. Someone who has a connection with the community that they're serving, someone who is able to engage and mobilize, whether it's through a marketing or through community engagement tactics, but engage your more mobilized people. And then someone who has development experience in terms of how to raise funds, like someone who knows how to fundraise, loves fundraising, has a network to fundraise, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're interested in joining a board, I would put that together. And then I'm going to tell you what Google told me, but there's also other ways. You find an elected official, you send them that resume and you say, hey, I'm interested in joining a board or a commission. Here's my resume. Can you please share it with anyone you know is interested? They are the quickest way because they are constantly talking to community folks and know of opportunities like that. Your city might also have a kind of nonprofit hub where they help boards, nonprofit organizations, and potential board members make a connection. So do some Googling and research what's available in your city from that regard. And then third, and my most favorite, once you have a passion point. So I have a passion point for adult literacy. I Googled adult literacy in Kansas City. There was one organization in the whole city that focuses on adult literacy. And so I reached out to them and said, hi, this is my name. Here are the skill sets. I would love to join you for an informational interview as to becoming a part of any board or your board or any committee services that you might be looking for a committee member. And they reached out to me immediately, and we had coffee. I learned more about their board structure. I learned more about the frequency of their board meetings, the expectations that they had for their board members, um, what where my skill sets would plug in the best for that board. And then I got introduced to the board members. We had coffees and lunches, and then when a board position opened up, I was like at the top of their list because I had done all the work. So don't be afraid to, as the young people would say, shoot your shot and see what a nonprofit that you are looking at and that you are inspired by, and letting them know of your interest if you want to join a board. How do you find board members? So I don't know if you all have a LinkedIn account, but the hottest trend right now is put a job description of what type of board member you want. What expertise do you need? What skill set do you need? What time you're expecting them to give your organization? If there's any financial financial commitment to join your board, all of the qualifications that you're looking for, do it job description style, and then throw it on LinkedIn. Hi, I am looking for board members that fill this kind of qualities, these type of things. Please connect me. Oh, very important. If your boards are only local and you're only open to having people within your community part of that board, say it. But if you're open to remote, we do our meetings through Zoom. So a person from Texas can join my board, even though we're in Indianapolis. That's fine. Put it in there, because you'd be surprised, through the power of networking and connections, the perfect board members will show up. And I promised y'all my contact information, so let me get it for y'all before I say, okay, what other questions do you have?
I have another question.
Yes.
Once you tap into a board that you feel that can be an asset, you could be an asset to the board, and the board could be an asset to you because it looks great on a resume.
Yep.
No matter who you are. Do you have to jump through hoops? I mean, do you go through the whole interview process? Do you have to have special credentials? Or, I know that boards are always looking for a specific, and sometimes you don't meet that qualification, but you have a passion. And
Yeah,
let's say,
I would say, I would say shoot your shot, as the young people would say. I started off as just a passionate person, and I ended up, you know, helping an organization go from, 30 people reached to 130 people reached within 6 months. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, but it was a very, I would say it was a very easy experience. I sent in my resume. I talked about my passion for the work that the organization was doing. We had a coffee to kind of just get to know one another and connect a little bit more. They shared more, because you also want to vet, is that the board for you at this time? One of the boards that I served on was a high touch point board. It was, you serve as a board member and a committee. And they met once a month. So like at least you were meeting twice a month. But then the committee work was like, but we have to meet another day to get this and this and this done. And so I ended up meeting for that one nonprofit organization like 4 times a month for 2 hours each time. And so that one became a little higher touch point. So you definitely want to kind of connect and make sure that that's the right board for you and that you are the right person for that board.
Another quick question, and I'll, like the kids say, land my plane. Now, this might sound, maybe you touched on it in the beginning, but what is the true, honest, authentic purpose of a board? A lot of these boards is just there just to be there to look good, to just have a face. I don't want to work on a board just to say, well, I'm a board member and I'm a member of the, because for the elite purpose. But
Right.
what is the true, when you're working in a community, let's say that's just disenfranchised, that's underrepresented politically, educationally, and maybe poverty stricken? Because you have a lot of these kids, and I'm an educator, in schools that are not getting proper instruction the way they should. And these so-called boards that are connected to these schools, they're not doing anything. They're just there in name and name only. So what is the true purpose of a board, no matter what that board is and the topic of the board?
I love that question so much. You have no idea. So let's take it one level more. The true purpose of a nonprofit, the whole reason why a nonprofit was started was to solve something. So like it is a community vehicle to solve something. The whole goal for that nonprofit is to meet and solve X, whatever the variable is, right? Some nonprofits have like solved the one thing, but they're like, oh, but we found another thing that we can solve too. And so they've stuck around for 100+ years. But at the end of the day, the goal, the sole goal of that nonprofit is to solve that one thing. And so that board's goal is to help that organization make decisions to solve that one thing. And it's really to be a partner to the executive director or whoever's leading all of the people and all of the initiatives to solve that one thing. And kind of being that like sounding board, like, hey, I see this is part of your plan, but have you considered X, Y, Z, A, B, C, et cetera, et cetera? Or like, hey, I just met someone you might want to talk to because they're working on blah, blah, blah. And so y'all should, it might be a good opportunity to work together, et cetera, et cetera. As a board, there's a governing board. So that governance board is to ensure the bylaws are being processed with fidelity, to ensure that the money is like doing what money is supposed to be doing in nonprofit. And you have a fiduciary responsibility as a board member to understand how the money flows in an organization that's a nonprofit. And you don't have to be like in the weeds, but you should at least understand how that money is supporting the mission. And then there's one more that I just cannot remember right now, but governance, working. So working board is in order for like, I forgot who it was that said, I'm starting a nonprofit. It's not that yet there, but we're doing all the things we need to do. So what the government agency does to ensure that a entity gets a nonprofit status is, are there people engaged in the work so that this one thing is going to be met? And so the working board comes into like, yes, we have a committee for this. We have a committee for setting our bylaws. We have a committee for board development. You know, we're going to grow our board to 12 people. Right now we got 2. So here's our plan. And this is a committee that's going to get us there. We have a committee to, man, an opportunity in our last financial audit was we don't have enough engagement from a constituency-based perspective. So now our work is to create a plan to friend raise and to have more support and engagement. And so we have a committee for that. So a board is going to have 1 or 2, depending on how nascent the organizational structure is and the organization is as a whole. It's going to be governance for sure, but there may be some work that is also happening to get that nonprofit to the space that it needs to get to support the work that it wants to do. I hope I answered your question. If not, feel free to add some more clarifying points and I'll try to get there.
Basically, because you mentioned money a couple of times in this conversation. So the board is really functioning on finance because nothing, money makes the world go round. Let's face it. Nothing can be done unless you have the proper economics and the finance to make it happen. Like, for example, kids need better teachers, school supplies, tools, so forth and so on. Community centers. Where are our community centers? So from what I'm gathering, a board is basically a helper for the organization. It can tap into networking for the organization. It's a link, a connection for the organization. And above all, the board needs to always be transparent in order for it to work with a correlation with the organization, the board members, and the community, or whatever you're doing. There must be honesty and transparency. So this is what I'm getting from you.
Yes, 100%.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Angela Rudolph. I'm founder of Sisters Acts of Kindness. And my board right now, we help Black and Brown children pre-K to 5th grade with any developmental, behavioral, or mental issues in the school system. And my board are all African American Black women right now. We come from all backgrounds. I have someone that's an accountant that works for the IRS. Of course, I have retired teachers, special ed teachers that are on the board, but we are all African American. And I heard you say something about diversity. When you say diversity, are you talking about nationality, or are you just talking about diverse as far as education and what matches what your nonprofit is about?
Oh, I love that question. So I gotta tell you, I'm team #representation matters all day, every day. And I believe that Laura's beliefs, don't go around saying, Laura from blah, blah, blah said, no, Laura Palacios said.
Okay.
I'm a big believer that your board should represent your constituency. So if your constituency is 100% Black women or Black young ladies, then I think that you're good. You cover diversity from a industry and all those other levels, right? But if your goal is to serve other backgrounds, then I would encourage you to kind of go through that gap analysis and identify what other diversity angles you may want to include into your board.
Got it. Thank you.
Y'all have some really great questions.
There have been several times where I've come off mute and I click the button and then someone starts talking. I'm like, all right, I'm not needed yet. Anybody else have anything for Laura?
Yeah, I had something to say. So, I do understand you saying that your board should be representative of the population you're serving. But do you think that it hampers in any way the grants that you'll be receiving if you do not have a diverse board, regardless of the population you're serving? Because I do feel, I mean, and this is just my opinion, that if you have a board, because I told you I have this other nonprofit with just really Black Americans. And I sometimes feel that because we're all Black Americans, because, you know, most people want to know who makes up your board. That's a common question for most grants, that you are at a disadvantage of getting money sometimes because you don't have Caucasians on the board, or you don't have, you know, it's not more diverse. What do you think?
Oh, I love that question. So, I'll give you some insight of my reference point, because I am not the end all be all expert on just exactly who should be on your board from a grant perspective. The grant, any grant is going to have what their specific eye is, but I'll give you two things. I used to work for a foundation. I understand how those decisions are made. And I know, I can say this, that when certain names pop up on that board list, different decisions get made, because ultimately the decision makers are the people who make the decisions are on where the grants are kind of divvied. So that's just a reality of life. It is what it is. But two, my husband founded two nonprofits, and when he was going through the process of building and establishing his board, he specifically wanted subject matter experts. It's an education nonprofit, subject matter experts in education. And so he he made some board requests to some of the people that I would have never thought that would be interested in joining his board. But because he explained to them, hey, I'm building this board. Your role would be governance. Your role would require this much of your time. But what I'm really trying to do is build a heavy board for my first 3 years, and I know that your name carries this much weight. And a, a lot of the people, I don't think he got one no out of all the peoples he asked. And it's one of the most diverse boards that I've seen in a long time, from geographic, from industry, from race, age, geez, I said location. Does he have a military? I don't know if he has a military. I'm gonna go ask that. But there's just such, and I see the work that they output because of his annual reports, and I'm like, dang, like I know that lens came from outside of education, and I can see why that type of work would get funded. Just the way the programming structure was set up, that had that financial lens, or that had that legalese lens. And so there's a good point to that. Again, Laura's beliefs. If a nonprofit's role is to solve a community's problem, then the community that it serves should be represented on that board. But there's a lot of considering factors, and that's why that audit and that gap identification, like that list is not an all-inclusive list, y'all. Like, you know, grant experience, foundation, industry, you know, touch points, like all of those are also additional touch points to consider as you're going through your board audit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you took us right up to the top of the hour. We have 1 minute left. So I am actually going to go ahead and close us out here. I'm so excited that this is more like a conversation because we wanted to do something that is helpful. So if we can have a conversation and be able to meet needs that people have, then that's, I think, the priority. So Laura, thank you so much for your time. We will send out a recording of this presentation and conversation. Usually it's within 24 hours. So we'll get that out to everyone. And then we'll also include Laura's contact information as well in case anybody wants to directly reach out to her. But thank you for your time, Laura, and thank you for everybody who jumped on. It was lovely to be here together. I'm going to go ahead and close us out though. Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Have a good day.
Bye. Great conversation. Thank you, Laura.
My pleasure.